there's been actually no sightings of Mothman since 2016, but that's actually a good thing. This is my little Mothman update.
Derick Henderson is a local upstate paranormal investigator, avid cryptid hunter, and member of True Searchers Paranormal Investigators, where he is TSPI's cryptid expert. I have been on a number of Bigfoot expeditions with Derick, and although we didn't find any evidence, we did have a great time camping.
What evidence will the True Searchers find this time? Yeah, that whole conversation's gone. We were recording, so we'll start from the beginning. Or
Everything is gone.
Well, I wasn't recording. Were you recording?
No, I guess not. I thought one of us just has to record.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm recording now.
I think I'm also recording.
Okay.
Now.
Well, let's do kind of an intro again. You want me to? I can start or. You froze. Derick?
Podcast, and I want to just.
Oh, sorry, you froze. I didn't hear any of that.
Oh, so do you have me now?
Yeah. Do you want me to go ahead and start? I can.
Yeah.
Do an intro.
I also was. Can I do an intro?
Yeah.
Also,
for what?
I want to start my own podcast also, and I was wondering if I could do like my intro and just try something out. Like I don't really have anything lined up, but just kind of give it a go and see what it feels like.
Yeah, if you want this to be your podcast, we could do that.
Well, I'm not saying I want to like take over yours, but maybe I could just try stuff out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, but you go first because you invited me.
Yeah. So welcome. I did a introductory podcast with Joseph Grimm of Gcrypt International Trackers. So this is my second podcast. So I invited True Searcher Derick Henderson. He's a local cryptid expert in Greenville, South Carolina. So this is the Searchercast with Gabe Mathews. Thank you for being on my podcast. And also this is Casper. Casper, say hello. It's actually almost his bedtime, so he's probably going to have to go to bed soon. So
good night, Casper.
Yeah. Well, you stay around for a little bit.
A little bit? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's such a good boy.
And hi, I'm Derick, as he said, one of the True Searchers. All right, can I try mine now?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Hey guys, what's up? It's Derick Henderson here, and you are on Cryptid Corner. That's right, the craziest place where I talk about all the kooky cryptids that are out there in the world. I'm here with True Searcher Gabe Mathews, Paranormal Investigator Extraordinaire. Gabe, what do you have to say to the crowd?
Hey everybody. Thanks for having me on your podcast. That's a pretty good intro. Probably better than mine. But
I've just been practicing. I wouldn't say it's better. They're just different.
Okay. Well, maybe what if I use your intro on my podcast, even though it has a different name? I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense.
Wait, so like you introduce your podcast with my intro?
Well, I don't know. How about I'll tell Dustin to kind of edit this part. So
like put them together.
Well, I don't want to lay it on top. I don't know. Well, let's just get into it if you don't mind.
He could find a way to mash it together.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I just got back from Haunted Mansion, the movie. So have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't.
No? Okay. Well, it's opening weekend, so it's only been out for 2 days.
Yeah.
So I could see how you wouldn't have saw it yet, but
I'm not a huge fan of like ghost movies. No offense.
No. Well, okay. Again, I am a fan, and not only that, I think everyone should go out and support this movie because we need to have more ghost movies in theaters and getting the attention in the box office so that we can keep creating them. And that's why one of the reasons why I want to support it. And not only that, I grew up just a huge fan of the ride, the Haunted Mansion. I went there as a child, and all I wanted to do was ride that ride over and over again. It's the best ride, just a technical achievement, and it's just really cool. And to have a movie, and this is actually the third movie that they released with the name Haunted Mansion.
It's not the second.
No, there's another Haunted Mansion movie. I hadn't seen the other one. Have you not seen? Let's see what year it came out.
There's the Eddie Murphy one.
Yes, I've seen that one, but I have not seen. Let's see. What was the other one? Because I hadn't seen it either, but someone said it's even better.
Oh, I don't. Would it not be called the Haunted Mansion?
Yeah, so I'm looking, but when I type it in, it only gives me the new Haunted Mansion. So I'm trying to find.
What about Haunted Mansion Old?
Okay.
The first Haunted Mansion.
2003 with Eddie Murphy. Yeah, 2015. Or 1998. No, in 2015. Oh, this is Spanish. Oh.
I think there's the Eddie Murphy, and then there's the new one.
Okay. There's not a. I thought there was another one. I typed in Haunted Mansion Old. Okay, just 2003.
Are you just thinking of the ride as a movie?
I'm sure they released some.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you really enjoyed the ride, maybe in your head, as a kid, you went on the ride, and it feels like you went to the movie theaters and saw this experience in theaters.
It could be
as a memory of a memory.
I'm starting to have a Mandela effect on this.
Like in another reality, there's a third.
No, I thought there was a third Haunted Mansion, and now
so in a different reality, there would have been a third one. But
there is
ours.
There is 1969 Haunted Mansion 1969. It looks like it's an album, but that's not what I'm.
I'm getting the Haunted House of Horror.
I guess there is only 2 Haunted Mansion movies then, so I've seen all of them. Yeah. So
which one would you say was better?
Well, that's a good point. I hadn't seen the original in a long time. And I remember not enjoying it that much. And this one it was a mixed bag. There's a lot to like and a lot not to like. One thing I didn't like is that there was I was expecting Eddie Murphy to make a cameo. I thought, just like a fun little nod to the 2003 version would be a good way to tie them together. But they didn't have that. It's just kind of its own movie. And if you think about the 2003 version, it had Eddie Murphy, but who else was in it? Do you remember who else was in it? So I'm looking at
who else?
Yeah, Jennifer Tilly. But that's what I'm saying. It's basically an Eddie Murphy movie,
right?
So there's like no one else. So it's like obviously Eddie Murphy is like completely A-list and like the best person to be in like a Haunted Mansion movie. But the new one is just a star-studded cast from front to back. We have Rosario Dawson, Danny DeVito, Jamie Lee Curtis, Jared Leto, just kind of a who's who of names. And then it's kind of introducing Lakeith Stanfield, who I thought did a phenomenal job. And I didn't ever heard of the guy, but it turns out he was in Get Out. So I actually remember watching Get Out, and I don't remember who he played, but he was in it. But the acting in this movie was phenomenal, and that's also Owen Wilson is in it. And to me, this was like a great vehicle for Owen Wilson. He was perfectly cast and played his role phenomenally. And I know this isn't kind of the type of movie that gets Oscar nods, but I thought Owen Wilson was perfectly cast and just
you think he's.
Yeah, I think he'd be a shoo-in, and he had a lot of one-liners that just really hit.
I've been saying for a long time, I think he deserves more recognition. I mean, he's one of my favorite actors, honestly. Both the Wilson brothers Luke and Owen are like very talented. I feel like they need to get more I want more people to see them for who they are and not good. They're not just comedy actors. They got drama in there.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
a lot of movies where they're together is pretty great, like Bottle Rocket and what's the other one that they're both in? Leroy Tenenbaums. I think they're both in that one. And we need like a horror movie to have the Wilson brothers in it together. And I know that this doesn't have Luke, but just having Owen as like the main, because so is it okay to spoil it? I'm gonna do a couple spoilers for the movie, so if you don't want to get spoiled for Haunted Mansion, skip a couple minutes in here. But one thing that really took me out of the movie was Owen Wilson ended up being a fraud. And I couldn't believe it because he was like in the movie, he's like the priest and the exorcist, and he like you really bought him as this character. And at the end of the day, he was just like a Halloween costume. He worked at a Halloween costume store. So he was like a fraud. And that just kind of took me out of the movie. Like that was a weird twist that we didn't need. And the other thing was Madame Leota. She's the one with the head and the ball. That's Jamie Lee Curtis. Okay. So she's talking about how there's 933 souls that are trapped inside the haunted mansion, and it needs to have 1,000 souls, in order to, I forget what kind of thing was, but like once it got to 1,000, it's like they were able to take over and all the bad guys win. But all of a sudden they jumped from 933 to 999, and it was something Danny DeVito said, but I missed this key information. And they kind of skipped from 933 to 999. And those two things, Owen Wilson being a fraud and just kind of completely jumping, that's 66 souls. And I just couldn't kind of.
You wish maybe they had brought it up more than once and just that one line you'd missed. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know how they expect like someone to say something one time and then to not know from there. Yeah. So I wish they kinda...
What if you had to pee? What if you had to get up and go?
Right. Casper has to go night-night.
Oh, all right. Good night, Casper.
Yeah. Night-night.
Night-night, Casper.
All right. So where were we? Haunted Mansion. Yeah. So overall, I'm just hoping to see more sequels, and maybe the next one they'll get Eddie Murphy to come back too. And I will say
he could be the 1,000th ghost or soul.
Yeah. So, well, they kind of ended the 1,000th soul has to be willing. Okay. But they ended up not doing it, and it kind of closed it off. But at the end of the movie, there's ghosts in the haunted mansion still, so there's definitely ripe for a sequel. As long as you have a haunted mansion, you have ghosts, right? You can keep pumping them out.
I mean, it could just be another mansion too. Like you could just have ghosts that come up.
Yeah, that's
in
a good
different
point.
House. It doesn't have to be the same place.
It could be kind of like Fargo.
An anthology.
The TV show Anthology. I like that idea of having anthology mansions. Possibly a multiverse where there's multiple mansions, and then they can tie them together or something.
And that could be where the original haunted mansion comes in from. The one that doesn't exist.
Well, we don't know. I haven't been able to find it, but it might still exist.
It could be like a straight to VHS.
Right. It could be. I will say that this movie had some of the best sound mixing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very impressed with sound mixing, like the way the score and the voice of Jared Leto was perfection. I don't know what kind of spooky audio changer or whatever they had on it, but it was like if I could get that plug-in, I would use it because it was perfection and spooky.
I mean, he's always been a very 30 Seconds to Mars was kind of like a spooky band, so maybe he just knows how to.
And he was a great Joker in
he's actually probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. If you were to list him out and figure out who he kind of does the whole Christian Bale thing where he changes his whole body to do different things.
Yeah. And he kind of gets really into it.
Yeah, he does a lot of that. So Yeah, I mean, just front to back. Danny DeVito was great. Owen Wilson was, again, needs Oscar nominations. Jamie Lee Curtis, her head was in a ball.
What more could you ask for?
Rosario Dawson. Who am I missing? And again, introducing.
I don't know who that is.
Rosario Dawson. She was in Clerks 2.
I'm looking her up. Okay, I do know who she is.
Yeah.
I'm bad with names.
I will say she had too much clothes on in this movie, but
hot take.
It is a PG rated movie, I guess. And yeah, like Keith Stanfield was great. Tiffany Haddish, Danny DeVito, phenomenal. And then these people I don't know. I mean, the acting was incredible. So I think we need to keep pumping out sequels. The budget for this movie was 150 million, and I'm sure it's going to make it back and then some opening weekend. So I guess it is Sunday. We could probably take a look at what it made. But there's a bunch of
was it a packed theater?
There was like maybe 10 people at most, probably eight people.
Yeah,
myself.
I mean it's Sunday, so people are I think summertime is on a Sunday.
Yeah, definitely.
People go to the movies. It's more spread out during the week because kids they don't have to go to school.
Yeah.
What are you drinking? That looks good.
Yeah, it's a beer. And actually, you know how I try not to drink as much, but then social settings, I actually got this non-alcoholic beer. But when you pour it in a glass, no one knows it's non-alcoholic. So it's like I'm actually getting drunk. So I'll have Dustin cut this part out. So that it actually seems like I'm drinking beer and yeah.
Oh yeah, so people don't think it's weird that you're drinking non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, I mean, why would
They're like, yeah, what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah.
So we'll cut this part out, but yeah, I think Haunted Mansion is gonna make a killing, and I'm excited to have it. We need more movies, haunted, spooky ghost movies in July. I think all year round we need to be releasing them, and release kids movies. This one's PG, so let's get the kids in there, get them into ghosts, and the younger the better. No, I would like to see an R-rated Haunted Mansion, but I think the market is ripe for these like kids spooky movies. And probably some of the best ones were like Casper. That was a really good one. And the Goosebumps movie, believe it or not, with Jack Black, and I haven't seen the sequel, but that one was pretty good. And I think this Haunted Mansion one, it's not quite as good as those, but I think this one can bring them in. And I think if this is a new franchise, which I'm sure is what the intentions were, especially with that cast, I want to see Danny DeVito and Owen Wilson and Tiffany Haddish and Jamie Lee Curtis again, and for the next one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so speaking of seeing things again, there's been actually no sightings of Mothman since 2016, but that's actually a good thing. This is my little Mothman update because whenever Mothman appears, I don't know if you know this about him.
I've been meaning to ask you what you've been researching, what you've been hunting lately.
Well, I like to kind of keep tabs on, because whenever Mothman appears, a tragedy happens.
Okay.
And it's kind of like he's like kind of here to warn people of danger.
Yes.
And so I just like to keep tabs and check, and I just wanted to let you know I just checked on Mothman. No sightings today or anything like that, so we should be clear of any tragedies.
Okay. Good. Is there a time of the year that he's more around or not, or like not in hibernation or building cocoon?
I think
or whatever?
It seems to be more every so many years. I'm still trying to figure out if there's just the one Mothman, but I'm also thinking like maybe it's a generational thing.
You think it would be multiple?
Yeah, because moths don't live long, and neither do men. But I'm sure if he's both, it's somewhere like a shorter human lifespan. Yeah, but not as long as a moth.
And moths come out of cocoons, right?
Right.
So is it a man that then goes in a cocoon and then comes out as a Mothman?
That seems to be what I think it's somebody who has to kind of undergo some type of
metamorphosis.
Yeah. Maybe they have a great stress and tragic event in their life. Kind of like a superhero origin story, but more realistic, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Um, and I was reading John Keel's book, the Mothman Prophecies.
Yeah,
I didn't finish it. I have it on Audible. But I can't. So they have the Mothman Festival every year,
they do.
and that takes place. Where's that again?
Um,
Because we were gonna
that's
go.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The Mothman Festival. It's in Point Pleasant.
yeah, Point Pleasant. That's right, Virginia, right? Or
Yeah, that's where the original sightings
right,
were.
and they have a big old statue there.
Yeah, a big
Yeah.
old statue.
Uh-huh.
Like they have a few. Like I mean, it's kind of like because it's the home of Mothman, so they have a whole kind of touristy setup around it. Which I don't know. I think it kind of takes away from it. Kind of. I don't usually like cryptids being used for capitalism,
Yeah. Well, I would be
but
interested in any other Mothmans popping up in the other parts of the world too. Is there Mothman in South America? Is there Mothman in Europe and Asia,
yeah, maybe
Africa? You think there'd be multiple or Mothman all over?
anywhere where a tragedy could happen should have a Mothman.
Yeah. And so what comes first, the Mothman or the tragedy?
Mothman, because he
Right.
predicts like you have to see him. So yeah,
Right.
it's not like a chicken or an egg thing. It's definitely Mothman first.
Okay. So we should be good as long as there's no. So
Yeah,
has
so
there? I was trying to think if there's been any tragedies lately.
I mean the submarine is that
The submarine was a tragedy, I would say, or its death. Well, I don't know. They were kind of stupid. It was almost like, but it was tragedy. I mean, people can still do stupid things, and still be a tragedy.
yeah.
So I guess it was a tragedy. So there might have been a Mothman there.
There could. I mean, I'm not saying he's around every time, but it's something to keep
We,
an eye out for.
well, he's not the only cryptid that brings about tragedy. He doesn't like have that. He doesn't have a monopoly on tragedy.
No, I think a lot of cryptids are associated with like myths and kind of they almost have like a heightened awareness,
Yeah,
in touch with the spiritual world, so they can almost sense when something is going to happen.
cool.
It's kind of like how like dogs or cats will seem to go away before they pass because they don't want to make their owner sad. They have like a supernatural instinct, and like that, cryptids are drawn to a site where.
Yeah. Well, I went on a Bigfoot expedition with you, and it was like last year now, right? So it's been
Yeah,
a few
I mean,
months. And we didn't
yeah,
really find anything.
I mean,
Um,
I think it was just a bad time of the year,
okay.
but I mean, that area of in the Pisgah Forest, I know I've definitely seen. I found tracks. I
Okay.
swear, at one time I didn't get the film, but he was there. Yeah, we went. He likes colder weather.
Okay. So, when do you want to go again, or do you want to go somewhere else, or are we doing another
I,
cryptid
I mean,
expedition?
I'd say we go back there. First,
Okay.
try. Persistence is key when you're cryptid hunting. You want to make
Hmm.
sure sometimes it's like hunting. You want to set up in a spot and you wait. It is hunting. It's cryptid hunting. But sometimes you have to keep going back to that spot because eventually they'll pass by. You'll become one with the background.
Yeah.
They'll just think you're another tree in the forest, and they'll
Mhm.
just walk by you, and then that's when you get the shot,
Okay.
like with a camera.
S- Cool, cool. So we got yeah, so we'll go there maybe this winter, and you're looking at Mothman, Mount Pleasant, which
Yeah,
the festival takes place in what month? Let's see.
it looks like September.
Yeah,
I was just
September.
looking it up here.
Huh, interesting.
Definitely be something I would be down to go with you, Gabe.
I would love to go. I don't know if this September will work, but we'll keep an eye out for it, and I'd love to go and check that out. So cool. Any other cryptids are on your radar to
Uh,
investigate?
I mean, I'm still trying to find more evidence on the Schmooney,
Yeah.
but He's got
Yeah.
it locked down tight.
I haven't got anyone to send me any video since the last one that I got sent. Then I posted that to
Yeah.
my Instagram, and it's probably been a year now. So you'd have to scroll back a whole year on the Greenville Ghost Tours Instagram to see the Schmooney that I have in a tree. And if the people who are listening and don't know what the Schmooney is, the Schmooney is a combination animal. And there's a local author, a guy by the name of Bob Shoemaker, who writes children's stories about the Schmooney. And they even have a mural in Simpsonville, South Carolina, with the Schmooney on the side of the mural. And it is adopted as South Carolina's literacy mascot. So it teaches children to read. And, anything that is cryptid or paranormal related that teaches children to read is 100% something that I'm into. And his Schmooney is the combination of a bobcat, a bear, a beaver, a rabbit, a raccoon, a deer, and a skunk. And so that'd be like the ultimate Schmooney, having all those combinations. But for us, any combination of the two animals of those, or even other animals, we consider Schmooney. And these are a local to Greenville, South Carolina. They're in other places, but for whatever reason, upstate South Carolina tends to have more of these Schmooney creatures. And the last one I got sent, it definitely it was like a raccoon, but it kind of looked like it might have had deer hooves. So a raccoon with deer hooves would definitely be a Schmooney. And other popular combinations, and I'm sure some, Derek, but I know like a beaver with a skunk stripe is popular.
I saw a sparrow with a snake tail. Was one that people have been talking about.
Yeah. And like a deer with rabbit ears, I know is also common. So
a mouse with chicken legs.
Yeah. So again, anyone who has Schmooney video evidence, please send that my way. And I have lots
or my way.
Yeah, actually send it to Derek. He's kind of Derek is a member of TSPI, True Searchers Paranormal Investigators. He has came on some ghost hunts with us, and he's kind of the lead cryptid expert. So he kind of gives us leads. And we'll say, hey, do you want to come? And I usually am busy, but sometimes I'm available. And last time we didn't find anything, but I mean,
it's a fun camping trip, even if we don't find anything.
Right.
Just a couple of guys hanging out in the woods together.
Yeah, and s'mores, hot dogs. You get sticks. You kind of put them on the stick.
Put in the fire.
Yeah.
Poke each other.
Yeah,
it's a good time.
Yeah, you tell ghost stories around the fire. And I always usually bring my paranormal gear, so we'll hunt ghosts too on a cryptid.
But it's not a lot of ghosts in the woods.
Well, there's more ghosts than cryptids.
But they're more. I feel like ghosts are kind of you house bound.
I mean, ghosts.
Not always. I'm not sorry. I'm not trying to step on your toes. I didn't mean that.
I mean, people die when they're camping, and they would stay around the area that they
wouldn't.
pass.
Their ghost wouldn't go back to the house. You don't think?
It's possible. I mean, you don't know, and that's why you have to investigate. Did you hear about the worm? So I read this article. A worm has been revived after 46,000. Actually, I can share my screen here.
Oh yeah, do that.
This is on. Let's see. How do I share screen? Here we go.
Yeah,
let me know when you see this.
Okay.
You see this?
Oh,
you see it?
A worm has been revived.
Revived after 46,000 years in the Siberian permafrost. Scientists have revived a worm that was frozen 46,000 years ago at a time when woolly mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, and giant elk still roamed the earth. So I don't know. Would this be a cryptid? I guess it's scientifically proven now.
No, yeah, I don't. Well, that's not what makes it. I mean, you can still scientifically prove Bigfoot. I think it's more about like the lore that goes around the cryptid.
No, well, if we scientifically proved him, he wouldn't like. He hasn't been scientifically proved though.
No, but I mean, there's enough evidence out there that it's basically proven.
He is proven then.
I mean, essentially, there's just I don't know how anyone could deny a Bigfoot or a Yeti. You know, it's just like a big ape creature in the woods. It's the most believable thing.
Yeah. So, but this is scientifically proven. So it is not a cryptid. This worm.
Well, I agree. Yeah, it's not a cryptid.
Okay. But it is
But I mean,
interesting. I mean,
no,
46,000 years.
yeah.
I wonder if we can study this and kind of can we, I don't know, freeze a human for 46,000 years? You know, we take some of the genes and molecules and DNA from this worm and maybe put it in a lab and get the a serum that we could then
Used to revive the human.
or put it in human DNA so that it can freeze and then be able to survive after 46,000 years. I mean, could you imagine getting frozen and then 46,000 years later come back alive?
So do you think if you have a soul, what would happen to it when it comes back? I mean, if you die, but then you're revived 46,000 years later, do you get ripped from the afterlife? Say you're frozen for 46,000 years and you're dead. When you come back, I mean, if you have a soul, would that not have to come back? I mean, if it was dead, it would have left your body.
Okay, yeah. So the soul, you died and your soul left your body.
Right. But then you get revived 46,000 years later.
I don't know if a soul leaves your body until you're never able to come back.
But that worm wasn't able to come back until we brought it back.
Well, I'm not sure worms have souls. We know fish have souls from the experimentation that we've been doing, but I haven't done it on worms, so I'm not sure if worms have souls or not. We could probably do the similar.
But yeah, what if you just? I'm just saying,
do a similar experiment with the Carillion photography with some photographic plates, and we can probably measure the CDP or the corona discharge that a worm would put off as it passes away, and we could probably see if. Well, the thing with worms though is if you cut them in half, it's like two worms. Then, so is it two souls?
Is that two souls?
Yeah. So that makes me wonder if worms either have no souls or they have many souls. And maybe this worm, one of its souls left its body when it got frozen, but a soul still remained for 46,000 years inside the worm. Seems to make sense to me that a worm would have multiple souls. Maybe each segment of the worm has its own soul. And we could probably do a scientific experiment cutting up the worm and
see how many worms it makes. I'm sure if you reach a certain point, it won't make more worms.
Well, I'd be interested in what's the if I cut it into 10 segments, and then what CDP comes out of the worm on the photographic plate. What corona discharge does each segment of the worm have, and I think if we're able to measure this, then we would be able to prove that it has multiple souls. So that's a theory, and again, using the scientific.
I mean, look at that. See, this is why we talk, because we just come up with more and more ideas like this that I don't think anyone, I
don't recall any scientific studies on this. So again, as using the scientific method, now we have a theory. So we have to get an experimentation going and, go down the list, scientific method to prove the worm souls. So.
Wow. Science is crazy sometimes,
Right. So yeah, I think that was cool. Anything else? Have you been following the UFO cases?
Yeah, I think that's a bunch of. I don't believe it.
No.
I don't.
Did you hear what David Grush, the UFO whistleblower?
I don't get into aliens because I just don't think aliens are a thing.
At all? Like
no, that's ridiculous. They have spaceships they can fly around. It's so absurd.
Yeah, we just have so much evidence, and if you just kind of look at,
I wouldn't call it evidence. You have people's stories that you can't really take for. I mean, you just have to take their eyewitness account. That doesn't sound like evidence.
Yeah. So the National UFO Reporting Center, you go there. I mean, you can look at all the different reported sightings, and you can kind of see which ones seem valid to you and which ones don't seem valid, and at least go from there.
I mean, what are they saying? There's just
Well, now we got a UFO whistleblower saying there's non-human biologics from the UFO site crashes, and this article I'm looking at is actually from NPR. So all like a lot of the leftists are kind of skeptics, and NPR is now saying it. Here, let me share my screen here. Yeah, so this one, in NPR, UFO recovered non-human biologics.
what does that even mean,
Biologics.
though?
Well, it's non-human. That's it. I don't think it's. It
Well,
would
I mean,
say.
could something. What if a rock fell from the sky and hit a squirrel? That'd be
Well,
non-human biologics.
well, and or an animal, I guess, would make
Yeah.
sense too. Um, I don't know.
I could have hit a car. That's not a human.
Yeah, I do know that David Grush has not presented any evidence, and mostly because it's confidential. But I mean, in order to get people to believe, I think we do need to see evidence, and it's kind of disappointing that we're not getting the evidence that we need.
Yeah, and this is what I don't know. I feel like it's too sci-fi for me.
Well, I just think there's a lot of smoke. And like you said, David Grush and David Fravor. It's funny they're both named David, and Graves.
Coincidence.
They there's a lot of smoke, and where there's smoke, there's fire. So I imagine that we're going to be getting more and more of this information coming out, and which kind of leads us more towards the truth. So
Yes, yeah. As long as we're getting the truth out there, that's
and
the most important part.
Right, and we are truth searchers, and we're after the truth.
And if there's evidence, I'm willing to change my views. I'm willing to change my mind on aliens.
Right. And again, we don't believe things without evidence here at True Searchers. And
That's right.
Yeah. So, Derick has found many evidence of different cryptids out there. And, we have all the paranormal ghost evidence that I find kind of on my side. I'm kind of the lead paranormal investigator, mainly deal with ghosts. And, we don't have a lead alien investigator, but this is kind of what I've been following, and many people in my circles keep me updated on this stuff, and I would love to investigate more of this alien stuff, but without I go outside and I look up in the sky and kind of keep an eye out for what's up there, and then if I see something strange, I'll pull out my smartphone and I kind of get the zoom going. I get like a big old you kind of can zoom in, and I have I have other devices where I can, kind of telescope, camera.
Yeah.
So I can do that.
My camera's cracked, so if I do it, it just comes out fuzzy.
Okay, sometimes they're fuzzy, but it doesn't mean if you have a fuzzy photo, it's not evidence.
No, and I mean, I have real. I just mean like if I'm looking out at the night sky and I want to take a picture. I mean, I of course have all my professional grade equipment for when I'm like going Bigfoot hunting, and I make sure to keep that because I don't want. There's enough blurry pictures, which again, I'm not saying like you were just saying, it's still evidence, but I want to make sure if I can be the first guy to get a sharp picture of Bigfoot or something like that,
Yeah, no, I think that's
where the money's at right there. That's where the money's.
That's fair. I mean, if we can get a Bigfoot, would you eat a Bigfoot if someone killed him on accident? Would you get a Bigfoot steak?
I mean, if he was killed by accident.
Well, you wouldn't kill a Bigfoot.
Hell, no, I would never. But if just he like was there and he got hit by a rock or something, or that's a tough one because I mean I can't say I'm not curious.
Yeah,
but I don't know how. I'd have to get close enough to see how close to cannibalism it would be because I know he's not quite.
We don't need.
He's not a human, but
we don't need other primates. Like we're not cooking up.
But I mean, it doesn't mean it's not been done or shouldn't.
Chimpanzee. We're not cooking up chimpanzee or orangutan steaks.
But again, I wouldn't say no to that either. You know, a little bit curious. That's all. Not like that I want to. I just would.
It makes you wonder if different parts of the world, if there is, if you can eat chimpanzee or orangutan or gorilla.
I think people have had like chimpanzee brains, or I've heard of people eating monkey brains.
Oh, monkey brains, yeah.
So,
And
I mean, if you're gonna eat the brains, why not eat the rest of it?
do we know if it tastes good or?
I don't know. It might just be like a cultural thing. You know, sometimes I haven't. I'm not sure.
Okay. Interesting. Well, anything else you want to talk about? I think we're getting towards the end
Yeah.
of the podcast.
I mean, I might just if can I just try like an outro?
Yeah, if you want to do an
Like
outro.
it just that way. If we decide to make this like my thing,
Yeah,
we can have
yeah,
the
that'd be
intro
good.
and the outro, and then same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
If you don't mind, you want me to go first?
you want to go first? I didn't know if you wanted to like make it a sandwich where you started first and ended last, and then it's like mine's contained within yours.
Well, I usually end my podcast with "The truth is paranormal. Be a searcher."
Okay. I guess I gotta think of. I hadn't really thought of an ending tagline yet. I was just gonna.
Well, it's probably
ask-
good I went first because it gave you time to think about it, and you still need more time.
Yeah. Hang on. Let me just. I'm gonna go off the top of my dome. Thanks again, guys, for listening to the Cryptid Corner. As always, much love from me, Derick Henderson. Thank you again to our guest, Gabe Mathews. He did a wonderful job. Gabe, do you have any plugs or anything you want to say, or where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, Paranormal TSPI. You can find me in Greenville doing ghost tours, greenvilleghosttours.com. But yeah, I'm out there, and if I didn't tell you, I'm writing a music album, which thank you so much for coming out and being part of the dance for the music video. So the best way to conjure a spirit is to do a dance, as a voodoo priest told me. And so I decided to coordinate a whole line dance. So there's nothing better than mass people doing a synchronized dance in order to conjure spirits. So yeah. So with that, thank you everyone for listening to my podcast. The truth is paranormal. Be a searcher.
And may your cameras always be watchful. That's what I was going to try out.
Thanks everyone for listening to the Searchercast with myself, Gabe Mathews. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with a friend, and leave a comment. And I'll catch you on the next investigation.